G'day and welcome back. I have in front of me a transistor radio. I bought this at the club auction, and after I bought it, I only paid a few bucks for it. After I bought it, the guy that was selling it to me said he had a go at repairing it and he couldn't get it to work. It has new components in it. I don't know if he's put them in or where he got it from and he couldn't fix it. I don't know. So I'm not sure what the story is, but it has new components in it and it doesn't work. But I've got everything I need. I've got a multimeter and this little tester here. I've got the circuit diagram. I've got my little signal tracer. I know very little about transistor radios. I've done a few, but they've all sort of worked to start with, so I didn't really have to do a lot of troubleshooting. This one's going to be a challenge for me. I know valve radios or tube radios pretty well, and I can work my way around, but transistor sets give me the willies. And of course the theory behind how these work is exactly the same as a valve set. They just use transistors instead of valves to do the amplification. So really it shouldn't be too hard. I think I powered this up when I got it. I've had the clips on there. I got it a while ago and I can't quite remember what I did. So I'll turn it on again. It's a 9 volt transistor set, so I'll put somewhere near 9, I guess. That'll do. And it has moved a little ammeter there, so I think. No, I don't think it has. Yeah, I don't think it's moved the ammeter. So it must be turned off. Oh no, it's not. Ah, made a noise. Okay, that's good. Now I'm touching that, I can just hear a bit of noise there. So I'll try the generator there. Now this should be ground, which I think on these sets is 9 volts actually. I'll put my generator on. I can hear something already. Woohoo! I knew that was going to happen. Yow! Alright, so the amplifier's working. So I'll see if there's anything. Oh, there's a noise there. See if I can tune it. Nothing there. So the next transistor is that one, it's TR4. There's the base. Whoa, that's working too. I've got to turn that down. Wow. I put a bit of heat shrink over this metal part of the probe here because that's got 9 volts on it. It's because I connected up here somewhere. So, what am I doing? So that transistor worked. Now this is the base of this one. There's nothing getting through, but it's got to go through that IF can, so this will not get through, but there's something there. The next one is this one here. That's the base, it says. Alright, so there's something getting through there. Is this one here, and that's the base. There's nothing getting through there. It's doing something. So that's the oscillator mixer transistor, I guess they call it. I tell you what if I put the IF frequency through? Hang on. I've got my generator here, which is set to 455, which is the IF frequency. These IF filters here, or the transformers, will only allow 455 through because that's the way they're tuned. So if I touch the base here, it should be able to get through. And it's not. So there's the collector there. If I touch that, that is getting through. So that transistor is not passing that 455 through. If I touch the base on the next transistor here, so that's getting through. So that transistor's not working. I'll hold this 455 probe against the base there. Well, I thought maybe I could percussion it into working. I'll take that transistor out, we'll test it. Now, I've got that transistor out. I can now read the board here. That one there was the base. I was using this, which is the emitter. So I was trying to put the signal in the emitter. That's the collector, of course. Anyway, I've got the transistor out, so we'll test it. So I'll test it using my multimeter. If I clip the black lid on the base there, that's the base, and touch that on there, my meter's on diode and we get 0.189. If I touch that one, we should get 0.25. Alright, so if I reverse these now, and now the red is on the base. Alright, so if I put that one on there, I've got nothing, which is right, and this one here should be nothing. Oh, 0.4. I'll put my meter on ohms for a minute. This is the case of the transistor, which is the same as this shield, the one with the green. That's the shield that goes to the case, and we shouldn't have continuity between any of these. No, it's nothing. So it's not shorting to the case. I'll try it on the little Chinese tester. I've connected the transistor to the tester there, and oh, it says it's all right. Yeah, I don't really know. Well, I do kind of know what those numbers mean. It's a PNP and it says it's okay. I'd have to get the data sheet to see if that's anywhere near correct. I was a little confused with the results I got measuring this transistor back here. I've refitted another one. Now I know this one works. It's out of a working radio. I put the one that was in here in that radio, and that radio works. So the transistor itself wasn't a problem. What I thought I'd do is check some voltages. Now this is the collector, and I think it should be 7.45. Looking at the schematic, it's 8.3. This one's the base, it should be 1.9. Oh, got 1. This one's the emitter, this should be 1.8. 0.8 again. This is the transistor I've been looking at, and this is where I've measured the voltages, as we saw, 1.8, 1.9, 7.45, and these were both, I think that was 1 and this was 0.8. Here's the 9 volts, it goes through that resistor. There's the oscillator, it goes up through another resistor and then onto the emitter. There's 9 volts there, it goes through that resistor, some is bled off down to ground, and presents at the base. Maybe these resistors have gone high and they're dropping that voltage down there. The only other option is that we've changed that transistor. Maybe this capacitor is short and pulling down the voltage from here. So maybe I should just blanket replace these resistors, see if that helps. Maybe look at that capacitor, that's 10k, so that's what, 0.01. Yeah, maybe look at that too. There's another capacitor there. I guess that could also be, if that was leaky, could take it down to ground, drop a bit of power off there. Maybe I should look at all those little components. These will be the resistors here. There's 10k, 10k somewhere, there's 10k. Next to it is 3.9, right there. That one's got red, and black, so that's 22. There it is. And there's one over there too. Orange. That's 33k. There it is. Okay, so if I replace those three, I'll see if it works. If it doesn't work, I'll change these two caps, which I think are these two here. I've changed all the resistors. I'll turn the power on. The only one was out was the 10k. It was about 12. The others were fine. Well, I suppose I'll see if it works. No, it's still not tuning. The oscillator's not running. So the sound's getting through, the signal's getting through, but it's not oscillating. The local oscillator's not oscillating. I'll measure the voltages. They won't have changed, I'm sure. Yeah, there's 8. This one's supposed to be near 2.8. This one's supposed to be near 2 as well. 1. So that hasn't changed. I'm going to go for those capacitors this time. I replaced those two capacitors. So I'll check the voltages again. I'm really not confident. No, 8. That one. 0.9. 1. Yeah, 1.1. So nothing's changed. I'll have to go back to the drawing board. I'm pretty sure the oscillator's not working on this, and I have been for a little while. That's why I changed all these components. These are the two capacitors I replaced. They're the wrong ones, so I just tacked them in. I'll put the old Phillips ones back. But here's the tuning capacitor, and that's had an iron strike. Some very rough looking solders in there. This little tab here is supposed to connect to this tab, and it should be soldered together. I don't think it is. I I think it's a bad solder there. I've zoomed in as close as I can, and I don't know. No, it was stuck. I did look at this the other day, and I thought it was stuck. I'll resolder that. You never know. Maybe it. Yeah, I've resoldered that. It's a weird way of connecting it, but we'll give that a try. The radio's got power on it. I'll see if it's going to tune. I don't think it will. No. Oh, it's not doing anything. Before I go back to try and work out what's going on, this volume control has played up from the start, and it only works at the very end there and just off the on-off switch, like the minimum. I'm going to pull that out and see if I can repair it. Oh, that came out easily enough. There's the switch end here, and this is the variable resistor end. So I'll just bend these little tabs back. There is some evidence that they've been opened before. There's some scratching on them. I'm not sure. Alright, let's have a look inside. Well, it's all there. I sort of thought maybe it was going to be broken into bits, but it's not. That little boss there is loose on the phenolic block. I assume that should be tight, maybe not. There's a little clip there. I'll take that out. So that should come off. May not get past this damage. No. I'll file that up. I cleaned the damage up a bit and that little boss came off. So there's the resistive strip. Just looking at that, there's the little follower for the inside here. And there's the little fingers that go in there, and they're all bent. Right, I'll straighten these up. I don't know if someone's got in here and bent them or what's going on. Let's see if I can straighten that back down level with its neighbour there. That looks better. A bit of deoxit fader here. I'll just try and clean this up a bit. Looks like it's gone right through the carbon there. It looks intact. It's a mess down here. Yeah, so I'll put it back together, see if it's done any good, and I'll refit it and I'll come back. I've got it back together. I'll just put some power on. I've got a new power supply here, so I'll try it. Oh, great, doesn't work at all. Yeah. There's a noise there, nothing there. Alright, I'll just solder a little resistor across there. We'll come back to that later. I've got a resistor on there. I'll turn it back on again. Yeah. Okay, that's working. Now, I had a look at a video by All American 5 on YouTube. He's really good, and he was having trouble with his oscillator not oscillating, and what he did was run a second wire or a negative wire back here through a resistor from, well, virtually the negative side of the battery, and that raised that voltage enough to start the oscillator oscillating. So just for fun, I am going to try that out. I've set up ready to go. I've got a resistor here and I've clipped it onto the negative side of the power switch there, and the base is this pin here, the one with a little hole next to it. I'll put some power on. So I'll put my resistor there. Oh, it changes. Well, actually that has changed. Oh, that's tuning. Oh yeah, look.
Hands in the end before Jake Upfield scored what I would put down as probably the most entertaining try that the Reds have scored this season.
Wow, okay.
Watch out, conversion successful, 14.
I'll see if I can measure the voltage there. I'll put the multimeter on now. I'll just see what I'm getting there.
Right for tennis at the end. Tell me about rugby league. There's just one Friday night game.
1.8, and I think it needed 1.9. I've got a slightly smaller resistor there. That's what, 33k.
Games for the Dolphins on the win.
So we've got 2.6 volts there, so that's too much. I think All American 5 started with 20,000, or used 20,000. Alright, so I know this area here is correct. I've changed all these components, and I even swapped back the original transistor. This one had a gain of about 10, I think, and I tested the one I took out of here, and that was running at about 80 or 90, so I've put that back in here. It's still not working, so I know that area is good. And now that I've been able to get that to work by putting a bit more voltage on the base of the transistor, I know all this is working. The coils are okay. This coil's okay. The signal got all the way through. But something is dragging down the voltage. It has to be over here. So this goes through. That's the first IF. So there's a resistor there, gone low, pretty unusual. There's a capacitor. It comes up through the coil here. Another capacitor there, I guess, off here. Then it goes down to ground. There's capacitors and resistors over here. So something in there, there's a short in there somewhere. It has to be. Something is pulling that down. So I think the best thing to do now is to measure these couple of resistors here. I can do that in circuit. I'll check the capacitors. I think they're disc capacitors, most of these ones. In fact, they are. They should be okay. Anyway, I'll start checking. I don't know if I mentioned I put these two capacitors back. They work perfectly well, so I'll let them back in again. I was just about to pull out some resistors and capacitors. I'd worked out which ones they were, and I moved this little capacitor over, and there's a blob of solder sitting there, and it's on this diode, and that is also on this can. So it's shorting that diode to ground. Now I did solder this area here, so whether I've dropped it in there or whoever butcher soldered these in did it, I don't know. I'm going to take that out. That certainly will not make the radio work. So I'm going to get that out and we'll give the radio a try, because that's exactly the symptom I was expecting. There you go. If I've done that, I don't expect the radio is going to work. If that's been there since the get-go, I think the radio will work. I'll try it. We'll see what happens. And that's tuning. Oh. That's tuning. Should put up some sort of aerial on it. It's working. Yeah, I'll just turn it off. So that's all it was. It was that piece of solder that was jammed in there. So I'm kind of kicking myself there. I should have done a better inspection before I started on it. Anyway, it's working. It took me 2 or 3 hours, so it's not too bad. Glad people aren't paying me for it. So it's going to be too loud. If I put that antenna on properly, it's going to be too loud. I need to do something with this volume control. I have another potentiometer here. It doesn't have the switch on the back, but I'll see if I can do something. There's some power on. Okay. And turn it up. Hey.
Comes open side left. It's very fast play the ball here. Now it's play 2 here for the Warriors. They come left-hand side of the park, trying to shift it wide now. Is getting up the plate is Pompey. Now open side right to Ford. Up inside the Broncos half now. Tries to swat away Ricky and also Reynolds, but he's stopped by those two eventually. 20 in from the near, or 10 in from the near side of the ground, and 40 out from that Broncos line.
So that's working really well. So I'll pull the volume control apart again. I must have done something wrong yesterday putting it together. I'm wondering if I can get the insides of this one and put it in here, and then I can use the switch again. Here's the two potentiometers. This is the one that was working. I've dismantled it, and this is the one that was in the radio. That's obviously dismantled as well. My original plan was to transplant the resistive strip onto this original plate here, but unfortunately I broke it, and I'm not sure that's a good idea because these connections here have got to be pretty tight. You don't want, a resistance building up in those two. So because I broke that, I've decided to modify this to fit into this potentiometer. They're very similar in size. In fact, they're almost exactly the right size. The only thing is this one's got a big hole in it. So to fix that, I machined up a little plug there out of a phenolic sheet. That'll fit in there. I've got a little land on the edge there just so I can get a better glue grip to it. And also this thing had a lot of slack in it. The original one, this moved around quite a bit. So this will just pack it out a little bit. So I'll go and clean all this up and I'll glue this in with some super glue. Alright, the little boss is in there, little filler, and that goes in there like that. And that sits down like that and we'll pull on there. I think that's going to be okay. The little tines in there, I've got to touch this center rod here. I think that'll be okay. Now this goes down there, it fits in the new hole we've got there. And if I put my fingernail where the circlip's going to go, I think that's looking pretty good. Yeah, I think that's good. I'll lock the circlip in. There it is. It's a little hard to test without the cap on because it all sort of holds itself together. So I'll put the cap on and then I'll run a test on it. Looks like I've made a mistake here. The little land that I've left there to reinforce that center bit is holding this top plate off the phenolic sheet there. So it won't sit down. I can't put the case on. So I will take this apart. I'll go and just machine that off flat. I removed that little land I had there and now it's sitting down flat. I'll got it connected to my multimeter here. I'll switch it on, assume the switch still works. Yeah, it's not working. I think it needs to come out. Yeah, if I pull on the shaft, it starts working. There's just too much gap in here. This shouldn't play like that. What I'll do is machine up a little washer to put under that circlip there, and that should get it working. I machined up a little phenolic washer there, so if I push that down there, and then I'll put the clip in here, hopefully it'll work. Alright, put the multimeter back on, and see if it does anything. That looks pretty good. I haven't set the multimeter or anything particular, so it's just testing it. Yeah, that looks good. I'll solder that back in the radio and we can check it out. I've refitted the potentiometer. I'll put some power on. I'll turn it on. I'll put the dial back on so I can tune it a bit easier. So that works.
Adds PS up the nights today. Along that theme, and New South Wales versus Queensland, and we gives the handball off to Broad, running past, sends it.
A listener will give it before they change the dial. Or
wow. Okay. More right in the traces and of course Veneroot.
They are. They're down there, just in their civvies.
So working all right. That's pretty good. Now this has the wrong resistive strip in it. It's supposed to be 2K, and I think there's about 10K. So it's not working quite the way it should, but it's okay. It's working fine at this time. I'll see if I can get one of these again. Maybe someone watching's got one lying around they can send to me. But it's working. That's the main thing. I could put a resistor or two across there just to try and even it out a bit, but I'm not going to bother with it. I'll put all this back in the case and just sort of finish it off a bit. I'm not going to do much to the case at all. It was really just me learning a bit about transistors. As I assembled this, I selected a station at about 612 kilohertz and just tuned this antenna and put some hot glue on it. So there it is. It's powered up. Let's see if it works. I've got my loop antenna at the back here, so that's powering the ferrite antenna inside.
17 minutes 30 gone second half, and this second half pretty much all Newcastle. Hetherington goes left, Gamble.
So it certainly works all right. So if it was outside, this would work much better than that, but that's not bad. There's a music station there. Outside, that would pick that up easily. So, yeah. That doesn't look too bad. It's cleaned up pretty well. It's whiter than the other example I have. A bit of RetrObright. This would look pretty good, I reckon. I'll wrap this up now. If somebody has a volume control, let me know, and we'll work something out. But it looks nice. It's a nice looking radio. I'm going to frame my little bit of solder and put it in a little display case or something, just to remind me, have a look around properly before you start troubleshooting. I could have saved so much time. As always, I hope you enjoyed watching this, and I hope you can join me next time for my next radio adventure.